Hey, welcome back to Math with Patrick. Today is February 16th, and we are on the 47th problem from this Daily Epsilon calendar. We're going to solve this one together. All right. Looks like we just have an arithmetic problem, like, computing stuff with numbers. And apparently, this right here is just the number 16 wearing a silly hat. And we just got to figure out why this is the number 16. So let's work on through our order of operations and try to figure out how to make this a positive 16. Okay, so oops, I already made a mistake. That exponent 3 should be on the inside there. There we go. Okay, so the first thing we should do is stuff in parentheses. And there's a lot of parentheses here, and I see that this is the part that is most tucked away, and I want to unravel that one first. So my first step is going to be, well, within the parentheses, I have multiplying by a negative, or like kind of like a -1, and I have some exponents here. And exponents happen before multiplication in order of operations. If you wanted it to be -4 itself cubed, you would have put parentheses like that. But since they are not that way, I will do the cubing first. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter because either way, I'm going to get a -64 in the bottom. Cool. And then in the top, this one does matter. I'm not doing the number -4 squared, but rather I'm squaring the 4, then making it negative next. And then so this will be a -16. Okay, cool. If I do a negative divided by a negative, it's a positive. Kind of like how if you multiplied two negatives together, you get a positive number. So doing that division, I will not have a negative number. I will have a positive number. And let's see. I guess I could think about this division the other way. Like essentially I'm reducing it down to 1/4. And I know that because 4 goes into 64 16 times. So these negatives cancel, and 16 over 64 is just 1/4. Cool. And I've simplified as much as I can on the inside. I've done all the stuff I needed to with those parentheses. Now all I have is 1/4 to the power of -2. Now there's a lot of different ways to think about negative exponents. Let me get the answer first, and then I can talk about negative exponents a little bit more. The way that I like to deal with negative exponents is just flip my fraction. So I can just flip this 1/4 to a 4/1. That is a reciprocal, or a flip of the fraction. The negative sign goes away, and I just have a +2. And now I know that 4 squared is just 16. That's today's date. So that's the answer. We're all done. I do want to talk about negative exponents for a little bit, so stick around if you like. Another way to think about what negative exponents mean is to find a familiar pattern. So I'm pretty sure you've counted by your powers of 2 before, like 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. And these numbers up top, I'm just kind of listing, the first number in the sequence, the second number, third, fourth, and fifth number. Alternatively, you could think of this as 2 to the power of the number right here, and that'll be important once we go and count backwards. The next number after 1 is a 0, and you might have to ask yourself, how should I continue this pattern? Looks like if I look towards the left, I'm dividing by 2 every time instead of multiplying by 2. And so to go backwards, I should divide 2 by 2, and I just get a 1. And if we keep going backwards even further, I should divide by 2 another time. And this would be 1/2. And then if you wanted to keep going to the power of -2, at least in this example where my base is a 2, would give me 1/4, because I keep dividing by 2. So one way to think about negative exponents is in the idea of division, where the more negative and I guess less, because negatives go down. The lower your negative exponent goes, the more division you're doing. And so it's kind of like me saying, take, the number 1 and then divide it by a 1/4 twice. That's one way to think about negative exponents. And if you did this division problem, 1/4 goes into 1 4 times, and then 1/4 goes into 4 16 times. So you could think about negative exponents as division. And then also, when I was talking about flips or reciprocals, you can do that with negative exponents as well. Maybe you notice that this 1/4 and this 4 kind of look the same, except, the 4 is on the bottom. Same thing is happening with this 1/2 and this 2. So if you have a negative exponent, you could just look over here at your positive exponent and figure out what's over here as long as you flip it. And that's the understanding of negative exponents that I like more, just because that helps with like computation a bit more. I think it's a little bit hard to think through fraction division, so I don't really prefer thinking about this -2 as repeated division. I just prefer to get rid of it entirely and flip the fraction like I did here. So that's my preference, and I just wanted to chat a little bit about how to think through what a negative exponent means and how you can use it in your computations. In any case, today's answer is 16, and we're all done. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.